foreign national shops in parts of Soweto has thrown open the issue of xenophobia once again. Now, police say members of the community were allegedly breaking closed shops owned by foreigners, but they've now ruled it out as a motive. To discuss the impact of xenophobia on the integration of migrants in South Africa, we have in studio Patricia Erasmus from the Refugee and Migrants Rights Program at Lawyers for Human Rights. Good afternoon, Patricia, and thank you for your time on the PM News Desk.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
What are the effects of xenophobia on a non-national, and how does this hinder full integration into the South African community at large?
Well, I think when we think of xenophobia, South Africans especially are unfortunate enough to have a lot of associations with the word. Most people will remember the xenophobic attacks which spiked during 2008.
2008, yes.
Also, it would be a myth to think that the xenophobic attacks have ceased since then. So I think that's really the biggest challenge to integration into local communities for foreign people is this aspect of xenophobia. At the moment, it's happening in Soweto and surrounding areas, and shops are being broken into and so on and so forth. But we do see it happening, unfortunately, on a continuum. It is not an isolated incident. It did not just happen in 2008, and it is still happening. And yeah, it is unfortunate that coupled with the xenophobia, what also further hinders integration of migrants, refugees, asylum seekers into host communities is the culture of impunity which is associated with xenophobic attacks. There is an unfortunate culture of that.
You've just heard police a few hours ago ruling out xenophobia as a motive behind this violence. Non-nationals saying something else though. But to what extent does crime and poverty fuel such behavior?
Certainly, crime and poverty are factors which play into any situation which gives rise to violence. That's indeed the case. But I think in this case, one can look quite frankly at the facts and see that the targets in these cases are people of non-South African nationality. They are foreign owners of shops and they are foreign business owners. So also, one can see that there was a tragic situation which sparked off these attacks, and that was the alleged shooting of a teenager.
Patricia, yes. To what extent is this volatile situation compounded by what you may call self-imposed leaders in the communities who take advantages of gaps or weaknesses at local government level and use this to advance their own personal agenda? I mean, we had it happen in 2008, and these elements, of course, often working on the premise that they are better in many ways than a legitimately elected local government official or councillors, and that secondly, that they can help rid the community of foreigners.
Yes, it's a very interesting question that you raise. It's difficult to comment on exactly how far this is an influence, but certainly one of the points which you're alluding to is the gaps which are left by government. And certainly in this case, we would call upon government, various policing bodies, as well as other branches of government, to act decisively to root out xenophobia so as to not leave these protection gaps where so-called third elements or unofficial leadership can come in and take advantage of it, as you are mentioning. There are various guidelines available. For example, in 2010, the Human Rights Commission issued a very important report which responded to the 2008 xenophobia and actually outlined the role that government can play, not just government in terms of policing, but government in terms of all aspects of government, all branches of government, local, provincial,
in all fairness, government has been very proactive here. In April 2012, they introduced a social grant, helping this group of people now become more self-reliant and independent. We also have a number of government departments implementing social cohesion programs.
Yes, indeed, and it's not to say that no steps are being taken, absolutely, and the steps which are being taken are certainly welcomed. It's just to say that there is definitely a need and a call for further steps to be taken, and especially to deal with the culture of impunity, like I was mentioning earlier. If further steps
and issues of justice and accountability for non-nationals.
Absolutely. I mean, it's an issue of rule of law as well. If there is good rule of law and if there is good enforcement of the Constitution, then attacks based on nationality would have no place. So, for example, the SABC Visible Policing Unit is best placed to deal with these xenophobic attacks. And indeed, we are seeing a reaction in this one.
Interestingly enough, Patricia, it also does work in reverse as well, doesn't it? When non-nationals are not the only victims of xenophobic sentiments, in some cases, right here in South Africa, making derogatory remarks about South Africans themselves.
I believe that there are tensions on both sides. Yeah, it's difficult to play the blame game and to see, you know, who is more at blame than another. Especially in this example, there was an allegation of a South African child being shot. But what is certain is that a broad-scale reaction against all non-nationals because of one perceived or, you know, true or otherwise event is amounting to vigilantism and mob justice. So yes, absolutely, you definitely draw attention to the fact that there are two sides to every story. Nobody's hands are absolutely clean in any violent situation, but at the same time, to target non-nationals indiscriminately in a blanket way and without regard to their participation or otherwise in a perceived event is xenophobic.
Let's take it back a bit. The Freedom Charter, which is a seminal document in our history, states that South Africa belongs to all who live in it. How crucial are peace-building initiatives at community level and community dialogues that highlight the rights and responsibilities of everybody?
These are absolutely essential. These are the funding, you know, the foundational blocks upon which peace can be built within communities and which cohesion can be built within communities. So, you know, all of these we would call upon not only for sort of, you know, justice to take its part, but also for these restorative measures, as you say, dialogues to open, communities to start speaking, and most importantly, for non-nationals to start to be treated as part of the community, not the community plus the non-nationals. It should be the community including the non-nationals.
Thank you, Patricia. I'm afraid we'll have to leave it there. We are out of time. That was Patricia Erasmus from the Refugee and Migrants Rights Program at Lawyers for Human Rights.